Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. My heart is pumping like a 100-meter Olympic sprint. Okay, thank you very much for being with me here. And we have the ambassador, Her Excellencies, ambassadors from High Commissioner from UK, Australia. We have representatives from university in China and many other people here. Let me start my sharing session today with a conversation I had with one young girl, and I presume she's still at the high school. About a few months ago, I asked her a simple question, which is quite a standard question for yourself to ask a young girl in high school. I asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? Actually, her answer surprised me. She said to me, I want to marry someone rich and be a housewife. What does it mean here? It means that she views life as hard, like anything else, and so uncertain in many ways, and demanding journey in the future, and that the girl's strategy, of course, to resiliently facing the uncertainties, of course, in a unique way. She views the life ahead for her. She needs to face lots of uncertainties, like the title of today's my sharing session. And she wants to face it in a unique way, or her way. Ladies and gentlemen, and to start with, I have to say that I'm truly honored to be here today, to stand before you in this gathering of regional and global leaders from the research houses and think tanks group. And I'm glad to see some familiar faces today, and of course, Her Excellencies, High Commissioners and Ambassadors, and some of those colleagues from when I was in the university, also present here, which in short signifies our collective commitment to understand and address the pressing issues that we are having now. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Future Research, the organization that organized this program today, for their dedication to insightful research and policy analysis, which will undoubtedly contribute to our shared goal of a resilient and prosperous future. The topic of today's, I don't consider this as a presentation. That's why I call it a sharing session of resiliently withstanding geopolitical and economic uncertainties. By no means my notes today would constitute a lecture or some kind of in-depth analysis of such a heavy topics, who would become a full-fledged research paper on itself, but rather some my personal observations only, which might be true, or it's just a bluff. So bear with me. Or if you like, you can just consider it as a joke if you think what I'm going to say today doesn't make any sense. So just bear with me. And another thing, I would like to portray some honest disclaimer here, that I would consider myself as nobody. Because of what I would say today would not create any effect whatsoever until the day comes to me as a person who holds that responsibility. I think that same goes to everybody. We can stand up, we can voice our concern, we can explain, we can do whatever we like to this kind of topics. But at the end of the day, we are not the person who are responsible in terms of policy, at least at this moment, until the day comes for any one of you or to myself. Ladies and gentlemen, the term geopolitics denotes a broad analytical framework in international relations, encompassing different phenomena such as political instability, tensions and military conflicts between countries, terrorist threats, or geographical events that can have regional or global impact. Geopolitical uncertainties can arise from various global and regional issues. I group it into four group of factors that affect the geopolitical uncertainties. Number one, geopolitical conflicts. We have US-China relations, the trade tension, technological rivalry between US and China, especially in terms of communications, and military competition in the South China Sea. Number two, we have Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is still under the geopolitical conflicts surrounding us at the moment. We have Russia-Ukraine conflicts, the ongoing war with significant global economic and security implication. I mean, those who are living in Europe, they know they have problem with some energy supplies because of oil and gas and the wheat, corn, or things like that. Number three, under geopolitical conflict, we have Middle East instability, mostly by the Zionist and foreign power, and everything concentrated on certain issues or topics for the Middle East instability. Number one, the issues of energy security, the political alliance for the countries of the surrounding the enclave of the Middle East. And number four, under the geopolitical conflicts, we have on this side of the world, Far East, we have the issue with North Korea, with her ambitions and unpredictability of its leadership. That four issues falls under the geopolitical conflicts concurrently happening now as we speak. Number two, under the geopolitical uncertainties, the grouping number two would be the environmental and resources security, focusing on the climate change issue, the impact on resources, migration, and international agreement. And you can see the examples, quite a classic example we have when we have the erratic reaction by Trump administration, for example, when he reject or just cancel out the Kyoto Protocol during his administration, and that create lots of uncertainties in terms of lots of issues. And under the environmental and resource security, also in the energy security, the dependence on oil and gas, especially from the volatile region. We have the region Russia, the Ukraine, and the Middle East, of course. The category number three is the security and risk, which is and risk management under the geopolitical conflicts. We have global terrorism, the activities I think whether grouping terrorism or state-sponsored terrorism falls under this category. And we have the cybersecurity threats, the state-sponsored cyber attacks and espionage. So first, we have geopolitical conflicts. Number two, we have environmental and resource security. And three, we have security and risk management. And number four, we have health and pandemics. The health trauma that can disrupt global stability and economies, resulting in widespread unemployment and decreased consumer spending, putting pressure on public finances and social system. All those uncertainties can have a wide-reaching effect on international relations, economies, and security dynamics. And it's not just to those developed or rich countries, but I mean, it goes beyond that border. I mean, those who are living in this side of the world, or those who are living in the conflict area or non-conflict area, everybody will be affected. So I'm starting now on the geopolitical uncertainties. So we have, number two, the second issues on the title itself is economic uncertainties. So we have one side is the geopolitical uncertainties, which I've listed for categories with subcategories. And we have economic uncertainties that can stem from various factors, including, I group it into 5 factors. And each one of those factors, they have sub-factors. Number one is the economic factors. The core itself is economic factors. And sub-factors include global recession risk, which is the potential downturns in major economies affecting global trade and investment. Number two, inflation, the rising prices impacting consumer purchasing power and economic stability. Number three, monetary policy, which is uncertainty around interest rate changes by central banks. And we can see this clearly what happened during the 2008 to 008 financial crisis, and in which we have a low interest rate at that time, and we have housing bubbles in the States, in America. Number four, under the economic factors, we had the debt level, high public and private debt burdens leading to financial instability. And number five, consumer confidence, the fluctuation in consumer spending based on economic outlook. For the category of trade and supply chain, which also affect the economic uncertainties, the subcategories under the trade and supply chain, we have number one, supply chain disruptions due to the political tensions, natural disasters, and pandemics. Number two, we have trade wars, the tariffs and trade barriers impacting global commerce. We have lots of trade wars going on. I mean, to those countries, probably they don't consider it as a war, but other people away from this conflict, we put it with a war. So I'm sorry if that's make yourself uncomfortable. We have UK and China. By no means I try to degrade anybody here, no, whether it's America or China, but you know, people from I mean, away from China and America or Russia, people in other part of the world, they look at it that way. We have UK and China trade war, UK and EU, especially when you have the Brexit taking place, lots of issue with the immigrations, with the taxation and things like that. We have US with the EU. We have US versus with India over tariffs and market access and trade imbalance. So that's where we have lots of issues or trade wars at the moment. We have currency fluctuation, the exchange rate volatility affecting trade and investment. And number three, for the category number three, we have market and financial factors, and subcategory for that are energy prices of the oil and gas and renewable energy market, which is very unstable. Number two, we have financial market volatility, stock market fluctuation affecting wealth and investment decision. Number three, we have corporate performance, variability in business profit and investment levels. Under the economic uncertainties, under categories of technological and labor market factors, we have technological change, the rapid advancement leading to job displacement and industry upheavals, especially with the coming in of IR 4.0. I mean, people been preaching IR 4.0 as if this is a new prophecy in our lifetime era, but it serves as a double-edged sword. In a way, when you have problem with the workers, for example, I mean, you're living in UK after the Brexit, you have problem to get workers, especially for the low-key jobs. And this is where probably IR 4.0 taking place significantly. But in other part of the world, in India, in here, or in certain countries, they still depend on the labor intensive. So when you introduce IR 4.0 in that particular place, it will disrupt the workforce market. So that's why I say sometimes the problem here in Malaysia is not similar with the problem in Australia or UK or in other part of the world. Number two, under technological and labor market factors, we have labor market dynamics, the unemployment rates, wage growth, and labor force participations. And finally, under the economic uncertainties, we have on the political and environmental factors. The political instability, which is the domestic and international political events, the impacting economic policies and investors' confidence. You don't have to be a political scientist to realize whenever you have political event, the uncertainties in terms of political event in certain countries, those issues will impact the economic policies and investors' confidence. And under the political and environmental factor, the last one is the climate change, the economic cost of adapting to and mitigating its impact. I've explained briefly in the point form because I know, as I said, this is just my observations. I mean, the detail I leave to the lecturers or the researchers to explain all those issues in terms of geopolitical and economic uncertainties. But this is the key points that mingle around us when we talk about geopolitical and economic uncertainties and how to overcome that two issues. Ladies and gentlemen, these uncertainties can significantly influence economic planning and decision making, not just for the state or for any countries, but for all sorts of businesses and individuals. Of course, it will affect the government. So all those uncertainties that I lay down in front of you. So if we are to elaborate the geopolitical and economic uncertainties facing us, so we have $1 million question we need to ask ourselves. First, will there be any easy fix to the problems or to the complications? After we put everything on the table, this is the sectors affected by geopolitical and economic uncertainties. This is the sub-sectors affected. criteria, would there be any fix or any easy remedy to solve the problem or the complications? The answer, I'll leave it to you, but my observation today, and at least my answer, which you may agree or you may not agree, I'm fine with that, totally fine, that there will be no quick remedy or single fix to the issues. Ideally, if we are able to solve each of those uncertainties, then problem solved. But life is not ideal. Most of things are not within our control. Say pandemics. Nobody can control pandemics. When it comes, it comes. US-China trade war. Who can control US-China trade war? Nobody. Russia-Ukraine conflicts. Who can influence or solve the problem with Russia and Ukraine conflict? Nobody. Natural disasters. Nobody can solve that problems. And even one term of pump and dump scheme or the fraudster in the stock market. Nobody can predict and nobody can easily solve those issues of pump and dump scheme or the fraudster in the stock market. You can put up all sorts of regulation in place. I think that's happening in the Wall Street and here also. But the investors or those people, the pump and dump scheme, the fraudster, they always find ways how to overcome those regulations. And here, every now and then, until at the end of our world, we are going to face that sort of people. And we cannot control them. We want to control them using our rules and regulations, but they try to beat the system every now and then. So the problem is, even though we are living interconnected with each other in various parts of the world, no two countries have the similarity or semblance. This is the fact. Even for any two neighboring countries, France and Spain, they are neighbor, but they don't have any similarity in many ways. Malaysia and Thailand, no similarity, even though we are living on the same piece of land. We are sharing quite similar demographically or geographically piece of land. We are not similar with them. So that creates those unsimilarities that we have works in many ways. We are not similar in terms of geographical contour. We are not similar in terms of demography, education background, the cultures, democracy, type of democracy you have in various parts of the world, even though they are neighboring countries, they are also not the same. The power, the laws, the governing system, and you can have all sorts of lists goes on. My point is, we identify the problem in our life and try to solve the issues of uncertainties in terms of geopolitical and economic uncertainties. But there won't be any size that fits all. Those who are living in other parts of the world, they need to consider themselves. They are the best person to know how to solve their problem. Even for our country, for example, IMF or World Bank, they can advise us, but at the end of the day, it's up to us. Up to any of those countries, they know best how to handle and solve their own problems. Even for the economies. For example, their opinion also varies. Just now I mentioned about two countries, different. Even for the economists who go to the same school, who go to the same university, who attend the same faculty, who attend the same university, they don't have any semblance or similarity in terms of views. And their opinion could vary and often clouded by their upbringing and belief systems. Take such a case of Peter Navarro, an American economist who served in the Trump administration years ago as a director of White House National Trade Council and other various positions under the Trump administration. Peter Navarro also, he was a professor emeritus of economics and public policy at the University of California and also graduated from Harvard. Navarro's view, for example, on trade are significantly outside the mainstream of economic thought and are widely considered weird by other economists, even for that individual who hold that kind of degree. Why? Because their opinion varies and clouded by various issues, the political belief, the upbringing, issues surrounding them, and the countries, the people who are circling them, and so on and so forth. Take the moment in 2018. This is one of the examples that we can look at and see for Peter Navarro. As the Trump in 2018, as the Trump administration was implementing trade protectionist policies with the belief that no other countries would retaliate against US tariffs. For the simple reason, this is the belief of Peter Navarro, and he passed to Trump, and Trump believes that for the simple reason that the American market is so lucrative and biggest market in the world, and he believed nobody would retaliate against the trade protectionist policies by Trump administration. I mean, those people who go to the same school with Peter Navarro, for example, the Harvard, the professor emeritus in economy and public policy, he wants to implement the trade protectionist for the America. Shortly after the implementation of the tariffs, other countries did implement retaliatory or strike back tariff against the United States, leading a trade war. So we could have different set of people who are helping us in this country, in Malaysia, who give ideas, who views this and that. And probably the same person will advise other countries, other surrounding our, neighboring Malaysia, for example. I mean, the same person who give their opinion to Singapore, to Malaysia, to Thailand, to Brunei. But the bottom line is, each one of those countries need to decide for themselves. They can listen to 1,000 views and opinion by thousands of professors, economic professors, or people who knows in and out about economy, but at the end of the day, the country itself needs to handle it. So my point is this, I want to summarize it in this way. If you want to mitigate all these uncertainties, because you might want to ask me what's the remedy to face all these uncertainties, whether geopolitical uncertainties or economic uncertainties. So if we want to mitigate all these uncertainties, we need to look at each and every country individually to see what do they have, what is their economic state, and what are their demography, and so on and so forth. Lots of things that we have to list it down. And one solution may work in one country, but wouldn't work in another. For me, for those who are living in here, in Malaysia, we need to give priority to which problem comes first that need to be solved. We need to be, and this needs to be done urgently, which are more important to deal with, which has the biggest impact, which are low-hanging fruits, and which require more intricate discussion and planning. So if we list down the priority list that we need to handle to be more resilient to face the uncertainties for the geopolitical and economic uncertainties, we have, let's say, for the sake of argument today, we have number 1 until number 10. Those number 1 to number 10 in Malaysia, the whole point that I can summarize to you today is that the same list if we pass to our counterpart in some of the part of the world, even to Thailand or Brunei or Singapore, they will not agree with that list, with our priority list, because of the issues that I explained just now. Even for the same place in Malaysia, the issues with the state of Terengganu, with the Selangor, Perak, Johor, there are no two similarities. We put up priority lists to be solved in Terengganu, number 1 until number 5, and we will ask our friend in Selangor to list down that number 1, number 5. We try to put together. We will not see the match, even for that. So it is not just, it's not enough to just have a standard economic council. So we come to the how we can overcome those issues. So it's not enough to just have a standard economic council in order to address these uncertainties that like we are having now in our country. Country leaders need to get people from all backgrounds involved in some kind of non-political initiatives, where politicians from both the government and opposition, they need to sit together and discuss, along with other stakeholders such as traders, economists, industry players, civil society and non-government NGOs, legal advisors, tech experts, and so on and so forth. Probably one would say, what is happening now, here and there, to solve the problem that we have in terms of our economy? We have economic council, comprises of those individuals. Yeah, we have it now in our country, but we don't have people from the opposition to work with, to sit down and try to tackle the issues. And one might say, oh, we have PAC in Parliament. This is one of the examples, if we want to look at through. Well, PAC, Public Account Committee, they work in a different way. Things that are already being implemented, well, we have those PAC to look at and give their comment and opinion, their critics, and so on and so forth. And the council is not working like PAC. We need to have a council comprises of lots of people from various backgrounds, including the opposition and the government. And probably one would say, well, don't you think, well, so it's counterproductive to have opposition on the same table with us, with the government? Yeah, probably you want to say that, but it's happened in our country. I think during the administration of Tun Dr. Mahathir, in his first term, Tun Dr. Mahathir, we have economic crisis in 1987, financial crisis, and he formed one of the council that comprises all sorts of people and sit down to try to solve it. They all need to sit together, putting their differences aside and discuss relentlessly to come up with the right solution that fits their particular country. Ladies and gentlemen, for some example, the resilience strategies we put in place in Terengganu, because for the state of Terengganu, we have some notable progress in diversifying our economy, which is to enhance our sturdiness or resilience. Historically in Terengganu, we are so dependent on oil and gas industry, and now the state has turned towards renewable and hydrogen energy. The greenhouse initiatives, we have some initiative together with the UK-based company. Thanks very much for Her Excellency's High Commissioner. We still have some ongoing discussion in terms of debt carbon credit issues. We move on to biopolymer, pharmaceutical industries, smart farming and agriculture sectors, sustainable fisheries, tourism, and I think the biggest of all, we need to inculcate in our country, particularly with the state of Terengganu, is the mindset change of the people. The government can plan lots of things, put in place all sorts of strategies and things like that, but at the end of the day, the mindset of the people prevail. If we have lots of things, the policies, we have super duper brilliant policy, but at the end of the day, the stakeholders in terms of our people who are not ready to implement or to get involved with, there won't be any real goals or points if they don't get themselves involved. So as a result, based on the Auditor's General Report, on average between the year 2018 to 2021, our dependency on petroleum royalty in Terengganu has actually lessened to 68.7% compared to 72.7% for the years 2014 to 2017. In the years of 2014-2017, we have the dependency to the oil royalty for about 72.7%. And for the period of 2018 until 2021, our dependency reduced by 4% to 68.7%. Well, it's not that a big achievement, but we need to start somewhere to reduce our dependency on the oil royalty and then move on to other things. Ladies and gentlemen, there are some also notable examples from Asian countries that I might want to share with you, but I believe the economists who are present here, the professors, this is in their snap of their fingers information. Here are some of the examples. Singapore, for example, Singapore is recognized as a prime example of economic resilience and innovations within ASEAN. I mean, given the sizes of Singapore with the limitations of natural resources in Singapore, they don't have any other options. So the nation has effectively diversified its economy by fostering growth in sectors such as finance, biotechnology, and information technology. And additionally, significant investment in technological advancement, including smart city project and digital infrastructure, have bolstered Singapore's economic competitiveness and resilience. For Vietnam, Vietnam has showcased impressive resilience and rapid economic expansion. Vietnam also established itself as a key player in ASEAN region through aggressive economic reforms and liberalization. And Vietnam has attracted significant FDI. Actually, this is data from World Bank, 2024. Vietnam also emphasized on manufacturing and export-driven growth that turned into major global manufacturing hub, particularly in the electronic and textile, and they have a big, other advantage compared to what we have in Malaysia. They have a better workforce. I don't want to use the term cheap labor, but they have a better workforce for the labor-intensive criteria. So by diversifying its export market and strengthening trade relations, Vietnam has further enhanced its economic stability. Moreover, investment in infrastructure development have improved transportation and logistics, supporting the country's economic growth and resilience. And this is also coming into place in the East Coast of Malaysia, where we are going to have ECRL, East Coast Rail Link, in another 2.5 years' time or 3 years' time. So any preparation for that matters to utilize fully the rail network, especially for the goods of transportation of goods from the small manufacturing industries or agriculture or things like that, must start now. That's why we are aggressively trying to get proper small industrial area surrounding each one of those stations. We have 6 stations in Terengganu for the rail link. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the final part of my session, which would be some of the possible options to be considered. And I have to say that it is a geographical and time-sensitive options. It might not true in some other part of the world, but occasionally, probably it's not right in Malaysia, but probably not now, but maybe in 5 years' time or 10 years down the line. Looking at the Malaysia demographic, for example, number one, integrated halal supply chain network. So the establishment of the blockchain-based halal supply chain network address critical issues of transparency and traceability within the halal industry. We cannot get away from halal industry in Malaysia, whether we like it or not. I mean, some other people from outside, they cannot come and say, why you are so interested in halal network and things like that. Well, this is our life. This is our well-being, if you like. So by connecting the halal producers, suppliers, and retailers on the unified platform, so this network ensures that halal standards are consistently met throughout the supply chain. So this approach supports the growth of the halal industry by providing reliable and transparent system that upholds stringent halal requirement. We need to have the whole ecosystem so that it can sustain this kind of uncertainties. And same goes to the blockchain-based supply chain resilience. We need to have also the sustainable Wakaf investment fund. Is particularly, it's not just for Muslim, but I mean, focusly on for the Muslim community, but I mean, some other people also can work together by utilizing Wakaf endowments for sustainable investment project that offers the dual benefits of generating social and financial returns while promoting sustainable development. So by pooling Wakaf funds into investment vehicles focused on specific programs, this approach would align charitable giving with impactful development projects. Then we have public-private innovation hubs. By establishing the public-private innovation hubs can drive economic diversification and resilience by fostering collaboration among government agencies, private companies, and economic institutions. And we have all the startups, our SME, and all these companies. And we have issue with the workforce program, which is not resilient. I think it's quite a big issue, especially post-pandemics. And same with the United Kingdom, they have workforce, I don't want to say not resilient, but we have problem with the workforce after the Brexit. Of course, there won't be any single fix to the problems, but implementing continuous education and reskilling program can significantly enhance workforce adaptability and economic resilience. Well, in some ways. And developing a national online platform that provide free courses in high demand field supports skill development and aligns educational outcomes with market needs. Partnership with employers can offer practical experience and job placement and ensuring that training translates into real employment opportunities. Probably some would say this is already ongoing. Yeah, good, ongoing. But we need to look at time to time so that it will be more practical, realistic. Ladies and gentlemen, as for the conclusion, as we stand at the crossroads of rapidly changing world, I truly believe that Malaysia's commitment to resilience, prosperity, and inclusivity remains unshakable, although at times is still rattling and counterproductive to the general populations, which needs to be handled with extra cautious. Well, there are lots of issues with the general population. One of them, as I explained it just 5 minutes ago, is about their mindset that needs to be changed with the real world. And in navigating geopolitical and economic uncertainties, the resilience of a nation is paramount important. So we need to settle on a multiple angle approach to building resilience. Take the example of ASEAN countries like Singapore and Vietnam to illustrate how diversification and innovation can bolster economic stability. Muslim countries such as Turkey and UAE further highlight the importance of strategic investment and economics reforms in maintaining resilience and global challenges. The experiences of these countries underscore the necessity of proactive and adaptable strategies to effectively manage and mitigate the impacts of geopolitical and economic disruptions. And by focusing on economic diversification, infrastructure development, technological advancement, and social safety nets, countries can better withstand uncertainties and ensure sustainable growth in an increasingly complex global environment. So in this era of uncertainty, our proactive and strategic responses demonstrate that Malaysia, as one of the most diverse religious, ethnic, and cultural settings, well, you cannot compare with any country in the Middle East that has quite homogeneous. As we are in Malaysia, we are heterogeneous, multicultural, multi-religion, multi-ethnic, multi-language, also multi here. We don't have multi-millionaire. That's the only thing that we don't have, but we have also a multi. And anybody who comes into power in Malaysia need to really put up in their mind that this is the reality of life in Malaysia that we need to face and tackle. So we cannot just have any single party who comes to power and say, I want to do this and that without considering other people's issues or problems in this multi-ethnic and multi-religion community. But at the same time, the multi-things that we have in Malaysia, if we tackle it correctly and we put up a good strategy, especially to withstand the challenges, it can become our golden bullet to seize any opportunity. So, because we are so multiple, if we do it correctly, which is, it's not going to be easy, but this is a challenge for the coming leader, for our country, to use it towards our advantage. Probably one would say, we don't have any model that reflect that kind of things. Well, we can start here in Malaysia, and that's the one of the biggest important challenge that we have to face. We will emerge stronger, more united, and more prosperous is if we tackle it correctly in this our multi-ethnic and multi-things phenomenon in our country. Together with the collaboration of regional and global leaders, research houses, think tanks, and our international partners, we will build a resilient Malaysia that stands tall on the global stage. And to summarize every single one of my points, I would say the remedy to the uncertainties is there all along. Choose your pick and move on. Jalaluddin Ar-Rumi, the 30th century popular Sufi poet, writes, if all you can do is crawl, start crawling. Thank you so much for your time and being here with me. As I said much earlier at the beginning of my sharing session, if you like what I say, you just like it. If you don't like, just consider it as a joke, as a bluff for today's sharing session. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.